Good morning. It's good to see everyone again. Let's take a moment and join together, get ourselves centered and focused, leave all of our concerns outside the door. We can pick them up later if we want to. Infinite Spirit of love, light, and wisdom within, we join together in common intent to celebrate this divine presence that operates in us, as us, and through us, bringing forth into a wounded world those attributes of the divine that appear to be so needed: light, love, wisdom, compassion, joy, peace, harmony. May our connection be powerful enough that these attributes flow through us easily into our world, into the world that each of us is experiencing individually. May we be channels of healing, channels of life, channels of love. I give thanks that this is so, and so it is. In the body of literature that we call the Bible, there's a very lengthy story. In fact, it encompasses the entire book of Exodus. From Moses discovering who he really is in Egypt, then going into the desert, and then the burning bush, and then coming back and freeing the children of Israel and to cross the river and into the desert. And then they, being people, screw the pooch, and they're stuck there for 40 years. And finally, at the end of Exodus, they get into the promised land. Now, that whole story tells us a great deal about us, actually, and a great deal about our spiritual path. But what I want to focus on, I think, this morning, is the fact that during that 40 years in the wilderness, in the desert, every once in a while, I guess, maybe you'll stumble upon an oasis, but by and large, there ain't much there. And so God provided for them on a daily basis a substance that is identified as manna, Manna. Its whole nature, of course, we have no way of knowing what it was. But every morning, they would go out of their tents, and when the dew had evaporated, there were these things all over the ground. The Bible describes them as being white like coriander seed and tasting like wafers made of honey. So I kind of envision communion wafers all over the ground every morning, regular as clockwork. But there was a challenge that these people, being people, had to deal with, and that was their fear. Because they were afraid. I might have enough for now, but what will I do tomorrow? You see, the fear. Now, can anybody besides me relate to that fear? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So Moses instructed the Israelites, collect enough for you and your family for one day, except on Friday, because Saturday was the Sabbath. So on Friday, they were allowed to collect for 2 days, but Sunday through Thursday, collect for 1 day. But being people and having fear, many of them tried to hoard a little bit, get a little bit extra, just in case, God doesn't show up tomorrow morning. I want to be covered. But when they got up the next morning, they found that their little pot of manna was all full of worms and grubs and disgusting things. So they had to learn to trust that God would show up every morning and faithfully provide their needs. So my suspicion is that when we get back from our chant, we're going to be discussing the idea of what we call trying to live on yesterday's manna on the other side of the chant. So, yesterday's manna. I think by now we all know that prayer, what we call prayer, is not what the world calls prayer. It's not what we were taught was prayer when we were in Sunday school in the Episcopal Church or in the Baptist Church or whatever. And at the risk of ruffling some feathers, it really isn't even the higher idea that was developed in New Thought of what we call affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer clearly is a whole lot better than now I lay me down. And it's a whole lot better than, oh God, please save me from whatever is going on. But there is still a higher level of prayer for us to attain to. And that is coming into the stillness. That is following the injunction given in the Psalms that says, be still and know I am. So that idea of prayer is coming into the stillness, getting centered, getting grounded, doing our best to shut off the thoughts of the mind. They aren't going to shut off regardless of what we try to do. But at least let them be while we focus on being centered and being still. That means letting go of a lot of our most cherished things, which for the most part can be summarized in one word, grievances. So it means letting go of our grievances. We can't bring them there into the place of true prayer, which is alignment with, connection with, realization of the divine presence, and listening for it to tell us what is the truth here. What is my correct function here? What should I do here? Father, tell me, because my reasoning ain't cutting it. My ability to figure stuff out ain't cutting it. I need help. And I be still and I listen. Joel Goldsmith taught that true prayer is God talking to us and us receiving that which the divine has for us. So it's letting go of grievances, letting go of the past, letting go of thoughts in general, letting go of the future. And I mean, Richard doesn't find any of this easy. I suppose that's why we call it practice. So anyway, we come into this centered place. We receive our instructions. Now, of course, obviously this is critical when we're in crisis. Because when we're in crisis, and everything is breaking loose around us, and it's all we can do to stand up. We need to be able to get into that stillness and get clear and say, Father, show me the truth, because what I'm seeing isn't it. Show me the truth. It's also important for us to do that when we're not in crisis, I think, so that it's kind of like exercising a muscle. I don't want to have to lift up a car because the baby's trapped under it when I haven't worked out in the last 85 years. I want to have some strength in my body if I have to use it in that kind of situation. It's the same thing spiritually. I want to have the spiritual conditioning of stopping, going into the center, going into the presence, asking, and listening. So for Richard, I find it very useful to do that at least once a day for at least 15 or 20 minutes. Now, I'm not proposing everybody should do that. And I'm not proposing everybody should limit themselves to 15 minutes. Any time spent deliberately, consciously going into the presence and making that connection is valuable time. And it's our lifeline. It's our very lifeline when things around us start going haywire. I think it's the only lifeline that we have. Now, in the world, one of the lifelines that the world provides for people is therapy. And, people go into therapy. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just commenting about this. But people go into therapy and everybody's got good intentions here. The therapists have trained for years collecting yesterday's manna so that they have it to give out to the people who come to them for help. Years. Massive education, internships, residencies, all kinds of stuff to get to the point to where they can sit down with somebody and go into their library of, this is what Freud said, this is what Jung said, this is what I learned in the third year of abnormal psychology, and bring it out and apply it to the person in front of them. And for the people involved in it, if that's all they have, that's wonderful. I mean, thank God it exists. But there is something higher than that. There is something better than that. And what is better than that is putting aside yesterday's manna, all of the learning. And this applies to Richard. When I go into the stillness to ask for advice, I have to go in with beginner's mind. I can't go in with everything that I learned in the last 10 years or 2 days or whatever in the Course in Miracles even. I can't go in with my mind filled with all the thoughts of what I learned in the way of mastery even, or what I got out of an Eckhart Tolle tape. When I go into the stillness, I have to go in empty, prepared to be filled with today's manna. Because the situation that I'm confronted with today may look exactly like what it was yesterday, or a week ago, or 20 years ago. But it's not. The situation that I am confronted with today is absolutely unique unto today. And so I need to go in and ask, Father, what is the truth in what I am seeing today? And how do I deal with it? And how do I respond? How do I function? How do I bring light and love into it today? More correctly, I suppose, how do I open myself to allow your light and your love to flow through into it today? Because Richard's light and Richard's love, not going to get it done. Divine light and divine love coming into any situation is the only thing that will heal it. And how is that going to manifest? How is it going to show up? We never know. I've mentioned a couple of times that I've come across a website that has years of gatherings, weekly gatherings, where Jesus, Yeshua, speaking through a channel, is explaining the text of the Course in Miracles. For each gathering, there is both the transcript of what was said and the audio recording of it. Now, this is a group of maybe 10 people in the room, with others joining in via the internet. Yeshua, through this channel, talks intensively about how, in anything, before making any decision, to stop and turn to the altar for guidance. His image is that within there is the divine presence, and that is the altar. And in our psychology, I guess, we have a choice of whether we can be facing the altar or whether we can be facing away from it. And basically, he indicates that the separation occurred, the sense of separation occurred, when we chose to turn away from the altar. And as soon as we turned away from the altar and lost our sense of connection to it, we went into fear. And that fear is what has been driving us ever since. And one of the ways that we can know that we have turned away from the altar, which I guess is just another way of saying we've turned our back on God, right? When we've turned away from the altar, all of a sudden fear is very present. But when we turn back, when we're facing the altar and we're seeing our divinity and we are connecting with our divinity, then we are at peace because we know we're safe. There is nothing to fear in the divine presence. And the divine presence is everywhere and everything. So there is never anything to fear. But we have our backs to the altar and aren't able to realize that a lot of the time. So he keeps saying, turn back to the altar, turn back to the altar, turn back to the altar. In another gathering, he said, consider a diamond. A diamond has many facets. He had previously used this as an analogy for reality, for the divine. Why is it that we are a bunch of individualities, and yet we're all told that we're all one? Because it's like the divine is like a diamond, and each one of us is a facet of that diamond. So he brings us back to the diamond and says, consider that in the center of that diamond is the altar. And each individual, as a facet, has the ability to turn around and look in at the one altar. So I guess following the principle that where two or three are gathered together kind of thing, if I am turning inside and looking at the altar, and Helen is turning inside and looking at the same altar, and Junia is turning inside and looking at the same altar, it strikes me that there is a whole lot more power in that than me going to my own personal private altar. Does that make sense? The more of us that are focused on the altar, the more power each of us individually has, the more clarity each and every one of us individually has, because our combined focus on the divine truth is serving all of us. In the gathering session that I listened to just last night, Yeshua said something incredible. One of the ladies in the group was talking about having established a process for seeing her brother, her sister, her fellow human, for seeing past their humanity and seeing them as the Christ, seeing them as the embodiment of love. And she had this whole process that she went through. She prepared herself before she left the house. And everyone she walked up to, she told herself, this is a holy encounter. I am meeting with my friend and brother whom I love, and other similar affirmations. And she went through this whole thing. And Yeshua said to her, very gently, very lovingly, that while it was a beautiful practice, it wasn't what he was pointing to. That it is living on yesterday's manna. My words, not his. But that is living on yesterday's manna. Yet it's what the human mind wants to do. Give me a tool. And every time I see a screw with a cross in it, I know I pick up this screwdriver and that's the one I apply to the problem. Now, speaking through this channel in this teaching, Yeshua says that the atonement is not passive, it is active. Expressing the atonement, living the atonement, is an act of embodied love in the moment. An act of embodied love in the moment. Not something we can plan for, and we never know what it's going to look like. In one case, it might look like just putting your hand on somebody's shoulder and saying, it's okay. It's okay. In another situation, it might be sitting down, looking them in the eyeball and saying, hey, you're very confused in your thinking and you need to straighten out. So sometimes it might be gentle love. Sometimes it might be tough love. But as an individual, I do not have the wisdom to determine what's needed when. So I have to be prepared to turn inside to the altar in an instant. When all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm confronted with something. And yes, they do materialize out of thin air. Be clear on that. They do materialize right in front of you. We have to be prepared that when something materializes instantaneously out of thin air, or what we would call out of left field, we have to be conditioned without thinking about it to immediately go inside to the altar into the stillness and say, Father, show me the truth. Father, tell me what to do. Show me how to express the atonement in this situation. And we never know what it's going to look like, because the Father knows, Holy Spirit knows, Yeshua knows, the Christ Council knows, Raphael knows, Saint Germain knows. Richard don't know squat. So I have to depend upon that information coming to me as I need it, just in time. Not 5 minutes before the crisis, and not, as in Richard's case most of the time, 2 or 3 days after the crisis, but right now, just in time. I have to be able to make the connection, get the guidance, and deliver the message. So let's take those thoughts into our meditation. This time is for you, a chance to soften, to slow down, to let your body and mind find calm. You don't need to make anything happen. Simply allow yourself to be guided. Find a comfortable position, either sitting with your back supported or lying down. Allow your hands to rest easily in your lap or by your side. Gently close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose and exhale fully through your mouth. Again, inhale deeply and release. One more time, inhale and exhale. Now let your breath settle into its natural rhythm. Notice the weight of your body being supported by the surface beneath you. Allow yourself to be held. Bring your awareness to the top of your head. With each breath, imagine a gentle wave of relaxation moving down through your body, softening your forehead, relaxing your eyes, unclenching your jaw, letting your shoulders drop away from your ears. Feel your arms, your hands, and your fingers grow heavy and at ease. Notice your chest rising and falling with each breath. As you exhale, imagine tension leaving your body. Allow the relaxation to flow into your belly, into your hips, into your legs, down through your knees, ankles, and feet, all the way to the tips of your toes. Your whole body resting, supported, safe. Now bring attention gently to your breath. You don't need to change it, just notice it. Notice the coolness as you inhale and the warmth as you exhale. If your mind wanders, that's perfectly natural. Each time you notice, gently and lovingly bring your attention back to the breath. Let the breath be your anchor, steady and calm. As you breathe, silently repeat these words. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I release my tension. Inhale, calm. Exhale, release. Inhale, calm. Exhale, release. Now imagine yourself in a peaceful place, a quiet beach, a gentle forest, a wide open field. See yourself there, surrounded by soothing colors and light. Notice the details, the sounds, the scents, the feeling of air on your skin. With each breath, imagine this calm environment surrounding you, supporting you, protecting you. Allow yourself to rest in this place of safety and ease. Here, there is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Just breathing, just being. As you rest here, let these words wash over you. In this moment, I am safe. It is okay to let go. My breath carries me into peace. I trust myself to return the calm. Allow whichever phrase feels the most supportive to stay with you. Repeat it gently in your mind with each breath. Now slowly bring awareness back to your physical body. Notice the surface beneath you, supporting you. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your breath. Take a slow, deep breath in and exhale fully. Again, inhale and release. When you're ready, wiggle your fingers and toes and gently open your eyes. Take a moment to notice how you feel and carry this sense of calm with you as you move through your day. Remember, your breath is always here as a refuge. The light that I am surrounds me. The love that I am enfolds me. The power that I am protects me. The presence that I am watches over me. Wherever I am, love is. And so it is. Well, thank you so much for coming out to play again this morning. I look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. In the meantime, I love you, I bless you, and I behold the light that you are. Namaste.